Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. A stopgap spending bill to keep the government running now is on the way to the White House, following final passage tonight by the Senate. To President Reagan's liking, this bill has no money for public works jobs in it. To Mr. Reagan's chagrin, it also has no MX missile production money in it. The question now, will President Reagan sign it or veto it? Phil Jones is on Capitol Hill.
Federal government workers reported in this morning, not sure how long they would be on the job since their agencies technically ran out of money at midnight Friday. And members of Congress seem just as confused about their future.
I don't know how many members I've had come up to me and say, we have family obligations at home. When are you going to get us out of here?
The first break came as members of a House-Senate Conference Committee agreed last night to a compromise emergency funding bill that was delivered to the House today. Democrats gave up in their battle with the president to tack on additional money for public service jobs. But Mr. Reagan suffered defeat, losing about $1 billion for MX missile production. And part of the MX research and development funds were made contingent on congressional approval of a system of basing. It was clearly not a compromise package that members enjoyed selling to the full House.
This is no victory for the President of the United States. It's no victory for the House of Representatives. It's no victory for the Senate, but let me tell you one thing. It's the best thing in town today, and you better vote for it.
And House members agreed with Conte that it was an offer they couldn't refuse. But it wasn't a total loss, since it included about a $9,000 a year pay raise for House members. For senators, no pay hike, but unlimited earnings allowed from the lecture circuit. Some senators hinted that House members had traded jobs for the unemployed for their personal pay raises.
I'm sorry to say that I think the pay raise did figure in the action of the conferees last evening. I hope that's not the case, but it's passing strange to me that suddenly the House and Senate conferees would just fold their tents on the question of the jobs bill and silently steal away.
And late tonight, the Senate also approved that emergency funding bill, and it was taken to the White House. So the only remaining issue now is the president's gas tax legislation, and leaders here are still hoping to get that to the White House late tonight or tomorrow. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Correspondent Leslie Stahl is at the White House tonight. Leslie, is the president expected to sign or veto this bill?
Well, officially, the White House is saying he's going to wait to study the fine print. Unofficially, there are indications he will sign, but that he wants to leave open the possibility of a veto to keep Congress up there till they pass that gas tax legislation with the highway jobs in it.
But you think he will sign it?
Every indication is that he will, but maybe not until tomorrow.
Leslie, in talking to the people around the White House and others in Washington, what's the read? Did President Reagan command this lame duck session as he had hoped? Does he come out of it a winner, a loser, or is it a draw?
Well, he didn't lose everything. He got some appropriations bills, and he got that jobs public works program out of the legislation. But he didn't win most of the items on his long list of priorities. He didn't get MX, Pershing 2 missile, a lot of other things. On balance, I think he lost more than he gained, and it probably was, according to some officials even here privately, a mistake for him to have called them back into session.
White House correspondent Leslie Stahl. More than a year behind schedule, and with its director currently caught in a contempt of Congress quagmire, the Environmental Protection Agency today named the unfortunate 400 the dirtiest toxic dumps nationwide, including, as Chris Kelly reports, the state listed as most down in the dumps.
The listing identifies the 418 worst hazardous waste dumps in the nation, but not all the polluters.
It's a problem which we've allowed to accumulate over a number of decades that we will be making every effort through this law to remediate.
New Jersey has the dubious distinction of having more hazardous waste sites, 65, than any other state in America. Sites like Price's Pit, which threatens the drinking water of Atlantic City, and this dump, where 11,000 drums of chemical wastes not only pollute the air, soil, and groundwater, but are so volatile they could explode. About 25% of the sites are in the industrial Midwest states. Some places are infamous, like Love Canal. Others, hardly known, have tormented nearby residents for years.
We don't need to be another Love Canal, but it's here.
Being on the EPA list does not mean the site will automatically be cleaned up. It does mean some sort of action will be taken during the next 5 years with the $1.6 billion Superfund, a liability trust fund set up by Congress in 1980. EPA critics are skeptical that the agency, which admits the cleanup project has taken longer than expected, will move any more aggressively now.
The mere announcement of the list without a commitment to do something about the sites and without evidence of that commitment through their past actions is nothing but a great fearful announcement to the people who live in those communities.
Most of the sites are no longer in use and are abandoned. Many of those responsible cannot be found and have escaped the cost of the coming cleanup. Chris Kelly, CBS News, New York.
Denture wearers, here's Martha Ray with big news.
Folks, if you wear dentures and smoke like Ted, I've got a new super strength denture cleanser. Just for smokers. New Smoker's Polident. Watch. We'll take half this denture stained with tobacco. Ugly. Now, new Smoker's Polident. It's the only cleanser with a super strength cleaning system to get tobacco stains super clean. See? So take it from a big mouth. New Smoker's Polident gets tough tobacco stains super clean.
Home fires can get a good start before smoke reaches the smoke detector upstairs. That's why you need the earliest warning possible. Fire prevention experts agree one smoke detector is not enough. We recommend the First Alert plan. Put one smoke detector on every level. A First Alert with escape light on your escape routes. Extra seconds could save your life. Follow the First Alert plan.
Italy publicly charged today for the first time what others have been claiming for weeks and months. The Italian Defense Minister, Lelio Liguorio, told Parliament that there is strong evidence that Bulgaria was the moving force behind last year's attempt to assassinate Pope John Paul II. He said the attempt was tantamount to an act of war in a time of peace. Liguorio said the attack on the Polish Pope was an alternative to another attack, an outright military attack on Poland itself, where solidarity was gaining strength. He did not expand on that remark. He also implied direct Bulgarian involvement in the Red Brigade's kidnapping of American General James Dozier. The OPEC oil ministers ended their meeting in Vienna today and failed to make a New Year's resolution on how to share a shrinking world market. What does this mean for the price of oil in 1983? One OPEC source says it means a free-for-all. In Vienna, Mark Phillips has our first report.
The rest of this quarter, which is a few days
As this conference ended, its chairman tried to put as bright a face as possible on what had been accomplished. But after 2 days of talks, the conference had failed in its major objective, to try to end the oil glut and to stop the slide in oil prices. Rather than assign specific production quotas to each OPEC country as had been intended, the conference could only come up with a general statement with no specifics.
I think we will all exercise our sense of responsibility and restrain ourselves.
OPEC's difficulties in the past have been caused by some of its members, notably Iran, increasing production and cutting prices to stimulate sales. And that's caused Saudi Arabia's Sheikh Yamani to sell less oil to maintain stability in the marketplace. The conference ended with accusations being hurled as to who was responsible for the failure.
Each time we come to a meeting, the Saudi representative acts like a reporter. When it comes to decision, he says, the decision, I can't make decisions. The king makes the decision.
OPEC's influence has diminished dramatically from the days when it shook Western world economies with oil embargoes and price increases. And that decline in influence can in large part be blamed on internal divisions, which have never been more evident than at this conference. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Vienna.
For motorists, the good news from the lame duck session of OPEC is that gasoline prices will stay flat over the next few months, and some experts say might even dip a few cents a gallon.
Even so, Americans can't really cheer about OPEC's troubles because OPEC's pricing problems are now the world's problems.
Take the United States. U.S. banks loan billions of dollars to the oil-producing countries, countries that need high oil prices in order to pay back those loans. OPEC member Indonesia owes $3.5 billion. OPEC member Venezuela owes $12.6 billion. Worst of all, Mexico. It's not an OPEC member, but it is now the largest supplier of oil to America. Mexico borrowed extensively from the United States. It felt oil prices would keep rising. So did U.S. bankers. They lent Mexico $29 billion. 9 of America's biggest banks have committed more than half their capital to Mexico, and as oil prices fall, Mexico is running into more and more problems handling that debt. What worries some experts is if demand does not pick up by spring, OPEC may have to make a deep cut in prices.
A major drop would just send shocks throughout the whole world's economy right now.
For Americans with memories of long lines and rising prices, there is a supreme irony in all of this. Lower oil prices would give consumers more money to spend, and that might speed up economic recovery.
But if the banks cannot collect on those loans to the producers because oil prices have dropped so low, the world banking system would be in real trouble, jeopardizing the prospects for any economic recovery. Ray Brady, CBS News, New York.
People who saw it happen say it was like an atomic bomb, a giant sun, 2 massive fuel tank explosions outside Caracas, Venezuela. More than 100 people were killed and many are missing, and at last report the fires were still burning. Caracas was partially blacked out when the flames engulfed one of the city's main power stations. No cause for the explosions has been announced. A federal judge in Alexandria, Virginia today called former CIA agent Edwin Wilson a merchant of death and sentenced him to 15 years in prison for smuggling arms to Libya. Britain has launched an investigation into last night's fatal ferryboat collision in the stormy North Sea off Harwich. 5 people were killed, another is missing. All were aboard an outward-bound ferry to Holland that capsized and later sank after colliding with an inward-bound ferry. 64 people were rescued. Some complained of a shortage of life jackets and of unusable lifeboats.
It's December 20th at Publishers Clearinghouse, and as promised, time for another winner announcement. Today we'll announce the new $67,000 TV bonus prize winner. Everybody here was eagerly awaiting the big moment. And now, the $67,000 winner is James E. Adams of Iowa. Next week, we're mailing our new $1 million triple sweepstakes. So watch your mail for the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes and enter. One of the winners we announce on March 15th could be you.
Decades ago, new vineyards appeared in the hills and valleys of California. The finest European varietal wine grapes began to flourish on the vines. And a new wine was born. A wine whose flavor, quality, and consistency were praised by critics throughout the world. Today, that wine is America's most preferred white wine. The Chablis Blanc of Ernest and Julio Gallo. All the best.
First Lady Nancy Reagan was feeling fine, even feeling up to hosting a staff Christmas party today, just hours after minor surgery at the White House. The problem, a small growth on her upper lip that had to be removed for analysis. The White House physician called the skin abnormality not uncommon. In Salt Lake City today, Dr. Barney Clark stood on his feet for the first time since receiving an artificial heart 19 days ago. The 61-year-old retired dentist joked with his doctors, telling them the operation and recovery period seemed to have lasted 5 years. A missing child found in San Francisco. Possible evidence in Massachusetts concerning another missing child. But Steve Young reports the nightmare world of lost children these days is far from the comforting dream of Peter Pan's Never Never Land.
Eaton Pates, a New York City youngster missing without a trace since 1979. Because of national publicity, he has become a symbol of all the children, perhaps 50,000, who are kidnapped by strangers each year. Their parents try to cling to hope, and faith paid off this weekend for the parents of 3-year-old Tara Burke. She was reunited with her family in San Francisco 10 months after being kidnapped from a shopping center parking lot.
You never gave up hope?
No. No. We had moments of, wondering, but we never really gave up hope at all.
She survived a nightmare. The little girl reportedly was forced to submit to sex in exchange for food. In New York, Stan and Julie Pates have been told evidence that their son, Eaton, is alive, may have turned up during a raid on a house in Wareham, Massachusetts. Inside, hundreds of photos of young boys available for sex with older men. One of the Massachusetts investigators saw a close resemblance between Eaton and a boy depicted in the catalog of an organization called the North American Man-Boy Love Association. Eaton Pate's parents have pursued leads like this before. They were reluctant today to discuss the latest development in the investigation, afraid that might impede the search for their son. They have told police the passage of time has left them uncertain.
Mr. and Mrs. Pates could not make a firm identification of the picture. They stated there was strong resemblance as to the shape of the mouth and the eyes.
The photograph and early pictures of Eaton have been sent to the FBI in Washington to try for more positive identification. Eaton Pates would be 10 years old. Steve Young, CBS News, New York.
The life and health of a nation are rooted in the life and health of its people. And as America has grown, we've grown with it. We're America's life and health insurance companies. To millions of Americans, an important part of the landscape, a symbol of strength and protection. Always there, always working. And because we're there, Americans today can face their future with greater confidence and security. America's life and health insurance companies, a growing commitment to America's life and health.
This is gonna be a fabulous party.
Here's the Canada Drive.
Everything's gotta be just right for our best friends.
Oh, can't wait.
It's gonna be great. So let it all begin. Cause when I'm mixing with my best friends, I'm mixing with the best Canada Drive.
Aren't you ready for Canada Drive?
The Commerce Department today reported that Americans' personal income rose 0.4% last month, just about enough to keep pace with inflation. Private wages and salaries dropped for the third straight month, but consumer spending jumped 1.2%. We told you the story last January from Idaho's Silver Valley, a sliver of land 20 miles long and 5 miles wide. Silver, lead, and zinc prices collided with a depressed market, shattering the local economy. And now Barry Peterson reports it is not future Christmases that are the concern, it is the ghost of Christmas present.
It's bitter cold in the dawn across this Idaho marsh where Mike Ingleby is checking his muskrat traps. For 9 years, he worked in the zinc and lead smelter and in the mines at the Bunker Hill Company. But a year ago, Bunker Hill closed its doors.
With Bunker Hill shut down, you don't really have anything else.
On a good day, Ingleby traps enough muskrats to earn about $12.
There's no jobs anyplace else. There's no sense in leaving.
I'm calling from Kellogg, Idaho.
Grover McAllister uses a free phone at the employment office to call about a job in Montana.
Do you know anybody else that might be hiring around there? It's pretty slow then, huh?
It will be the second Christmas without work. The carols still play on Main Street in Kellogg, but this Christmas will be different. It signals the end of the line.
It ends December 31st.
Hundreds of Bunker Hill employees have survived this last year on unemployment checks. For many, those checks will stop coming at the end of this month.
Your benefits will run out on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
What then?
Yeah. Just hope something breaks before long.
At the Union Hall, months of frustration have turned to bitterness. The benefits are running out.
Crime rate's going to go sky high because somebody's going to eat. Somebody has to eat.
You really think that's going to happen?
Yes, I do. I sure do. I ain't going to let my family go hungry. If somebody's got more than I have, I'm going to take it.
That's right.
That's for damn sure.
Century-old Bunker Hill shut its doors when silver and lead and zinc prices tumbled. It cost 2,100 jobs and left behind unemployment running at nearly 33%. A month ago, new owners bought the facility. There is optimism. The optimism is clouded by uncertainty. The new owners are uncertain when the facility will reopen. Maybe next year, maybe not. Neighbors are helping neighbors by giving.
At the food bank, those with money, even if it's an unemployment check, use it to buy and donate food. People have pulled together so much that an anthropologist came here to study the community.
Time and time again, as we interviewed people in the community, they would say, if nothing else, if things are going to be so bad and I can't go anyplace else, at least I have my friends, I have my relatives here, and somehow we'll get by.
Bonnie and Ed Peterson and their 3 boys stayed together, going to Nevada looking for a mining job which never came. Then to Arizona, but there was no mining job there either. All he could find was a few weeks' employment in a service station. Ed Peterson wanted to work. This odyssey lasted for how long?
11 months.
And you worked how much in that time?
1 month full-time and 3 weeks part-time before that.
We tried. We just tried to find work. There was no work. So we're back home now. And
the family finances at this point?
They're gone. We just get by with very little now. Now we don't have very much meat at all, so we just have lots of potatoes and stuff like that.
Christmas is coming on.
Betty's making a truck, and we're making some things out of stuff we've got lying around the house, so there'll be something for the kids anyway. You just don't think about it. You don't think about what's going to happen, you know. You just hope that something does happen, and when you get to that point, if it didn't, you'll find a way. You'll find a way to make it.
Barry Peterson, CBS News, Kellogg, Idaho.
In his commentary tonight, Bill Moyers looks at Congress and the economy, at lame ducks and lame excuses.
It wasn't meant to be this way. The House, of course, would more closely mirror the tapestry of popular passions, but never was it to operate like a yo-yo, jerked up and down by one interest group after another. And the Senate was supposed to be a body of deliberation. But there it was this weekend, voting on bills that hadn't even been printed, bills whose meaning were known to but a few, bills that could never have made it through the regular process. Some mischief failed in the chaos, thanks to vigilant if weary eyes, but there were misdemeanors enough. $250,000 for a fish hatchery here, $1 million for a little dredging there, tax write-offs for convention goers aboard cruise ships. The Christmas spirit is seeping onto the floor, said one senator sporting a bright red jacket. Ah, yes, but not all the goodies were going to Tiny Tim. The House and Senate managed for themselves a raise in pay. Now, you can't begrudge the lawmakers their need to make ends meet, but there's something symbolic in the increase just now. Back in 1940, when this many people were out of work, Congress actually voted to cut its pay. But the distance between the two Americas seems greater today. Those of us lucky in the marketplace or with hands on the machinery of society can protect ourselves. Millions cannot. They're adrift in choppy seas, and when they look to either the public or private sector, they must think they're being tossed both ends of the rope. They need a system that works, one that enables democracy to face up to substantive decisions. Otherwise, John Adams will be proven right. 38 years after the Declaration of Independence, he wrote, "Remember, democracy never lasts very long. It soon wastes and exhausts and destroys itself. There was never a time when democracy didn't commit suicide." Well, we've lasted longer than any other, but the possibility of self-ruin is always present, and the fault will not lie with our politicians alone. The spectacle of a lame duck Congress is symptomatic of a crippled republic.
We're almost there.
Hope they've got some coffee on.
Here, this will warm you up.
You make good coffee.
Yeah, isn't it great? It's Master Blend.
Costs more, huh?
Nope, usually less. It only tastes expensive.
Master Blend, a delicious blend of beans we roast and grind a special way so you can save money. Master Blend, it only tastes expensive.
Oh, let me out.
Not with that congested cough. You look drained.
I feel drained. Take Formula 44D. You'll feel like your congested cough is being drained away.
Sure.
It's the only leading formula strong enough to relieve your cough and congestion.
It does have a strong cough suppressant.
And 2 decongestants. Well?
Thanks to Formula 44D.
Your day didn't go down the drain.
Vicks Formula 44D drains your congested cough so it won't drain you.
No matter which of these stomach remedies you take, for gas, pain, and pressure symptoms, we'll prove Gas X tablets break up painful gas bubbles better and faster. Watch. Intestinal gas bubbles are much like bubbles in beer. Add one of those stomach remedies here, Gas X here. 1 minute later, stomach remedy shows little change, but Gas X breaks the gas bubbles. They're almost gone. For fast relief, get Gas X, the 100% gas reliever.
Music, they say, is the universal language, perhaps never more than at this time of year. After Ramadan, just after Hanukkah, just before Christmas. With that in mind, Richard Roth reports on a special performance of the Israel Philharmonic, a performance that helped set a record of note.
It took 2 years to organize and dozens of hours to rehearse a week-long festival of concerts celebrating the centennial of the birth of the Polish violinist who founded an orchestra here in 1936 as a refuge for Jewish musicians persecuted in Europe. In the process, some of the world's modern-day maestros spent part of their time teaching and part of their time watching and listening. One of the soloists calling this a chance for an evening for Israel to project a different image to the rest of the world. Israeli-born violinists Itzhak Perlman and Pinka Zuckerman played a duet by Handel, and before the evening ended, Israel's president remarked, a bit wistfully, that it would be wonderful if life could imitate music, if all efforts could produce this kind of harmony.
Especially after that, I regret to have to report that renowned pianist Arthur Rubinstein died today at his Geneva home. That's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
Come on, the game's gonna start. You know good things take time, huh?
Ever notice how when you really need a flashlight, you can never find one?
What happened to the lights? Nobody move. I'll get a flashlight.
Or when you do find one,
Here it is.
it almost never works. So Black & Decker invented the Spotlighter, the rechargeable light. The Spotlighter stores in its recharger, so it's always bright, always easy to find, always fully charged. The Spotlighter from Black & Decker.
More than 2,000 years ago, before the age of the Caesars, vinifera grapes were first cultivated in Italy. And through the centuries, they have become the grapes that produce the very finest wines in the world. Today, these classic vinifera grapes give Riunite a unique, soft and light taste. Pure and natural Riunite is the world's best-loved imported wine. After all, our roots go back 2,000 years.
This is CBS.
The state's new drunk driving law has not cut the number of DUI arrests, but it has created other problems. And we continue our special report on unemployment with a look at the jobs of the future. Coming up next on Eyewitness News.
We've opened our doors on the biggest sale in Zare history. And we'll keep them open until Christmas Eve. It's the Zare 5-day, non-stop wrap-up sale. A selection of great holiday buys at savings of 15 to 40%. A sale that goes on all day.